Hey everybody, this is Tim Gross. Welcome back for week 4 of the Advanced Traffic course. And today we're going to be talking about how to buy media. And there's a lot of ins and outs of actually making the purchases and getting the best deal and when to be trying to work with actual reps instead of just self-serve and that type of thing. So I think this is going to be really interesting. We also have a very special guest that spends a pretty staggering amount of money in online advertising doing exactly what we're talking about. So that's going to be extremely interesting. So let's just dive in because we've got lots to cover. Jonathan, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Sounds good.
Good, good. Okay, guys. Well, this is a pretty interesting presentation, especially since we have a guy on the call who is going to be talking with us later, who buys a lot of media and is really one of the biggest traffic pimps I know of. So first of all, let's just talk about what we're going to talk about, because that always makes for a good presentation. We're going to basically talk about how to buy media today. And when we talk about this, we're going to talk about traditional online display advertising, pop-ups, banners, that kind of stuff, from companies like ValueClick and Yahoo and advertising.com. We're going to really discover how to move beyond the self-serve system, and I like to say make a new friend, which is your ad rep. We're also going to understand the media mindset with our good friend Christian Wesolak, who some of you guys met at the Traffic Evolution party in San Francisco at AdTech. Christian is an amazing marketer. He spends between $10,000 and $15,000 a day, which is, significant money, like $300,000 to $500,000 a month. And he's going to talk about some of the things that you need to be successful. He's also going to reveal one of his new profit models, which I found really, really interesting. Kind of turns the whole affiliate model on its head. And then, of course, we'll take questions, and as always, you can ask questions throughout the entire presentation, and Tim or I will look at them and see them and answer them. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is it's an old quote, and it is very, very important to media buying. In fact, I think we talked about this a little bit in the original Traffic Evolution course, but it's worthy of mentioning once more, and that is, I think this was Abraham Lincoln, but I couldn't really find who to attribute this to. The quote goes something like this: if I were given an hour to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 30 minutes sharpening my axe. And basically what that says is that media buying and online advertising favors those who are prepared, favor those who are ready, favors those people who have their ducks in a row. This is not a self-serve, low-commitment prospect we're talking about. We're talking about involving yourself with other people, talking to them on the phone, meeting with them, negotiating with them. So you want to actually have an offer ready, and you want to have all your ducks in a row, and we'll talk about specifically what that is. So, like we said earlier, for the purposes of this presentation at least, media buying is going to be defined as making a traditional banner or pop-up display advertising purchase from a company like ValueClick or Yahoo or AOL or someone like that. Some of them don't even have robust self-serve platforms. Some do, but I want to differentiate this from just what we call media buying, because frankly, when you buy Google ads, I think you're buying media. When you buy pop-ups on Adore, you're buying media. When you buy CPV ads or PPV ads, you're buying media. But most of that is done without the one-to-one interaction that we consider this type of media buying to be. And so just wanted to get that differentiation there so that you guys understand. I think the biggest difference is that when you go online in a self-serve system, you enter in your credit card, you enter in your ads, maybe a day later somebody approves them, the ads start running, and that's pretty much it. Either they work or they don't, you tweak them, you optimize them, you're pretty much on your own. When you're buying media, you're actually working with an individual usually at a network. And there's a couple of big differences. The first one is you're going to really need to establish a relationship with them. And then the second one is you're actually going to have to sign a contract, in most cases known as an insertion order. And basically an insertion order is just basically the contract that you use to buy advertising directly from a network. It sets the terms of the deal, the targeting, the pricing, all that stuff. Now, a lot of people have said that, they're scared to sign an insertion order. They don't know what one looks like. So what I decided to do is just take a couple of the insertion orders that I've had over the years. I have a whole bunch on my computer, but I just took them. I had to block off some stuff, some personal information. I just want you to see how simple these insertion orders are. The first one here is from ValueClick. This is a insertion order for banner ads that we ran, I think, last year. You can see that we negotiated a traffic price, which is not something that we'd ever be able to do in a self-serve type of environment. We actually negotiated 65 cents per visit, which was probably about 1/3 of the prevailing rate that we were looking at from Google or even from other networks. This is a super simple one. There are actually another page of conditions that talked about the targeting and whatnot, but this is the basic nitty-gritty. Here's one from MyPoints, which is a loyalty point provider, but it's a media contract. Here's another one from Archemax, just so you can see what they look like. They're really rather simple. And here's one from Intermarkets for the Drudge Report. I know I had blocked this out because one of the people on the call, actually, this is his insertion order, so I didn't want to reveal any of the personal information. But you can see really how this goes. This was the publication on Drudge Report. It's a dynamic ad on the top. There's a frequency of 1 per 24. This was just the targeting that they were using. This is their name and information, but you can go ahead and take a look and see this was a really small insertion order, $1,000, just to test, I believe. And on the plain banners, I think they were paying $2 CPM, and on some of the large banners, they were paying $5 CPM. So, or that could have even been the remarketing now that I think about it. So these are very simple contracts. You should not be afraid of an insertion order. You should, really be happy to sign one because they give you a tremendous amount of flexibility, and they also give you rights. Pretty much what's covered is the flight dates. Here's the main stuff that may or may not be covered in an insertion order, but mostly this is the stuff that you're going to find. The dates when this is actually going to run, the flight dates, the media type, what kind of email it is, or text ad, or pop-ups, or display, what the pricing terms are, if it's a CPA, or a CPC, or a CPM, how much of a deposit you might have to pay, an out cause. This is the most important thing because it basically says how long they can run the campaign after you say stop. And although we're going to talk about that, you can usually get this stuff stopped like right away. And then there's also the frequency cap, the targeting, and the campaign details if this is going to go on a specific site placement or if it's actually going to use different rotated landing pages, or, this is really where the details are outlined in the insertion order. And like I said, signing an insertion order sounds like a big deal, but it's really not. And we'll talk about how you can sign a $1 million insertion order for just $5,000 later on in this presentation. It's pretty exciting. So, listen, I like self-serve networks a lot because I don't have to call anybody, I don't have to make any commitments, I don't have to promise anything. I can just go in, and in usually 10 minutes I can set up a campaign. It's very low commitment, it's very low risk, I can monitor everything on my own, and it's just it's just an easy way to get started with a network. And especially if it looks like this is the network or a network that you might want to use down the line for a real media buy, it's really great to have everything all set up, because all you do is you call and you say hi to your rep and you just tell them, hey, here's the campaign I'm currently running. I'd like to work with you more closely, and then they can take it from there. All the details are actually in there. So while I like self-serve ads and self-serve systems, I really like the flexibility that I get on buying media using an insertion order. And the first thing is that you really can come up with different pricing options. A lot of the networks and a lot of the self-serve stuff, they're only going to sell you banners on a CPM basis. Or if they sell you on a CPC basis, they're going to run them for a couple hours, and if they don't actually back out for the network, they're going to pause the campaign and stop it, and you won't even know that it's stopped until you go back and you look in your ads and you're not getting any impressions. But when you work with a rep, your rep is not only going to pay attention to what you're running, but they're going to make sure that you get traffic. So that value click thing that I had, that insertion order from before, you could see that was a 65-cent per click price. I gave them a bunch of different banner ads. They were okay with it. And then they just ran the heck out of it until I got my clicks, and I was charged the 65 cents. Now, at a certain point, if my banners really, really, really sucked, I was going to probably get a call from the network saying, you need to get some new creative, or you need to lighten up your targeting, or something like that. But that's actually never happened to me. Generally what happens is they just run them and they let the whole thing run because you have a contract with them, even if they have to deliver the banners for a very low CPM in order to get you the clicks. And then they just charge you more on the next insertion order. So this really gives me some good pricing flexibility. You can also call them up, which you can't do with a lot of self-serve stuff, and say, hey, this campaign ends on Friday, and if it's Monday, I need all these banners delivered between now and Thursday night. And they can do that. They can throttle stuff and move stuff around and increase the delivery. They'll also help you out with things like optimization. In fact, we kind of have a little joke here. Someone asked in the last advanced course, they said, how do you optimize an ad server? And the answer is you pick up the phone and you call your ad rep and you tell them to do it. And that's the way you do it. Really, 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 there's no easier way than that. So having a rep really gives you not only the pricing flexibility, but it also helps you out after the fact. Plus, we've even had situations where we've sent the creative over to get approved, like with Yahoo.com, and they've come back to us and they've said, if it was affiliate promotion, we've already run this campaign. We already tell you that what you want to do didn't work for the other guy, so you might want to make some changes to your banners or your landers or something like that. That is hugely powerful, to not have to spend $5,000, or $3,000 or whatever to run a campaign just to find out that it doesn't work. These guys are really here to help you. They want you to spend $5,000 a day, but they know you're only going to do that if you're making money. And if you're not making money, then they know that they don't have a shot at turning you into a big customer. So they actually are, even though they're working for the network, they are in a way working for you. Like I said before, when you have a self-serve account at a network, and especially when you're at a near or a break-even level, pick up the phone and ask to be assigned to an account rep. I remember last year talking to the guys from AdBright, and they said that they hadn't, heard from us for a while. We weren't running anything with them. And I told them that, our last deal with them just didn't really work very well. It was really close to break even. And the woman who was my rep just said, hey, well, let me have a shot at it, which was amazing, because then she went in and she made some changes and she optimized it, and she actually got it better to break even. Now, it turns out she didn't get it where it needed to be, but at least she got it into a profit, place, and at least someone really cared about it and was working on the campaign who had an inside track as to how the network worked. So even though it didn't make our numbers, we were okay with it. I think it made like a 20 or 30% ROI. We usually are looking for a 2 times or a 3 times return on investment. But, you know, at least we didn't lose any money. And if she had been able to do better than that, well, that offer would have probably run on her network, you know, through today. The other thing about working with someone is when you give your money to a self-serve system, that self-serve system doesn't know who you are. And I mean, that's obvious, right? But you get something that we call street cred. And street cred is when you spend money and you run campaigns and you work with your reps and you help them out and they help you out. When you do that, when you've got some street cred, when you go around ad tech and you've got your 5 or 6 networks you work with, and you walk up and they know you and they say hi to you and they give you a, you know, whatever their super cool prizes are for being one of their folks, you know, the skateboard deck or the iPad or whatever, you're getting that because you have street cred. They know that you're a guy or a woman who, when you send a campaign over, that campaign converts. When you say you're going to pay your bills, you pay them. You pay them on time. You pay them in full. You're easy to deal with. They're easy to deal with. And so, in essence, what that does is it actually creates a partner at the network that you can work with when it comes time to either ask for a CPA deal or an affiliate deal, or listen, even hold someone accountable when a campaign doesn't work out. And that happens sometimes. I don't have a slide on the make good because most campaigns and most ad reps will say they don't do make goods. But the truth is, they all do make goods. You know, if they put the wrong banner in there or something happens or the tracking's not working, you can usually get some extra advertising out of them, and that can sometimes turn a campaign from not profitable to profitable. So let's talk about that getting your ducks in a row stuff. The first thing is that you really want what we call a central creative area. You have one URL set up with all your banners, your landers, your email ads, anything that you have, all of your creative assets in a single place. And there's a couple reasons. First of all, if you're shopping this offer to CPA networks, you're going to need to have all that stuff in place anyway. The second thing is if you have an outsourcer or somebody who is placing ads for you or running the ads or setting up the campaigns, you're going to need everything ready for them. The third thing is if you're hanging around in ad tech and you're walking around the floor and you want to show people what you've got on your computer or your iPad or whatever, you can just take them to one URL and they can see everything. And when you are working with a network, especially someone who's going to run all your campaigns for you, or you're going to at least try to get them to run your campaigns for you, you want everything organized and in a good place. And just to let you know, when I have one of these, I'll show you a couple of them in a minute, but I have one, and I had a network last year when I sent them the URL, because, you know, he sent me this email, we want to see your landers, and we want to see your creatives, and we want to see this, and we want to see that. And when I sent him this URL for this one offer, he said, man, I sure wish everyone would do that. It made it so easy. I just forwarded your email to our compliance department, and then they can get it approved. Instead of having to, like, save all the banners and zip them up and whatever, just put everything out there. Put everything in one place, and it makes it easy. It also makes it easy for you when you're setting up campaigns and you're going out there and working with self-serve. So let's take a look at a couple of these. I did put a couple sample creative asset pages out there. Let me go ahead and pull up Firefox. Okay, so the first one you can see is for a site that we own called Amazing Page Surveys. And the first thing I do is I have the landing pages right here, little screenshots, and links to the landing pages so that they can see what they look like. Here's a long squeeze. Here's a short squeeze. This is something that if they wanted to be an affiliate for me, or if they wanted to go CPA, it's a really good way for them to say, hey, let's try that lander. You know, and you can put 3 or 4 or 5 landers. I'll show you the next one where we have, I think, 6. Here's the banners that we have that we've already tested, that we know work, that actually have, good click-through rate, and they actually make money. There's a large banner. There's some of the other little banners. There's an email piece. And so all this stuff just helps them say, wow, I get it. I think this is something we can promote. One of the biggest problems that I found with networks is getting the information back and forth in terms of getting things approved, or working with their legal department or their compliance department or even their IT department and the guys that set up the servers. If you send them this page, he can just take these banners and grab them and put them straight onto the desktop or wherever he or she wants them. And then what that does, it just makes it easy to set up. And then the people at the network like you. They're like, man, they're looking forward to helping you out because you've helped them out. The next one is for this BizOp that we put together last year. We like to call this creative assets. That's the industry term, just so you guys know. And then what we've got here is we've got our capture pages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 landers that we've gotten. Just out of, so you know, this was probably the top tier. Short was probably the best one in terms of opt-in rate. But if you've got like a particular type of traffic, you might want to use a different landing page, right? Here's all the banners. This was a great one. I didn't do this on the other one. Here's the zip file with all the banners, so that when people wanted to actually run these banners, they can just go ahead and they can just download the zip instead of saving them. We made it real easy for them. We put all the creative right here. It's really powerful and really made it simple. We did not hear back from anybody saying we need more information. And here's our Traffic Evolution affiliates page. Some of you guys have already seen this. We've got all the products that we're selling, but this even qualifies because we've got the banners right there that we recommend people use, and we've got some email sales copy down there as well. So the point is just create a place where it's all centralized. And like I said, once you do this, you're going to save yourself some time as well. We're going to talk a little bit about the media buying checklist, and this is the stuff that you want to pay attention to when you're actually signing an insertion order, when you're actually looking at an insertion order. I would say the first thing that will happen after they send you an insertion order is they'll send you a credit application. Now, they probably will not give you credit on your first campaign. They might, but they probably won't. And so you need to expect to pay at least something, a few $1,000s as a deposit. But I would always get credit established, especially if it's a network you think you're going to use, because I've got in my credit cards, I've got maybe, I don't know, $100,000, $80,000 worth of credit line, right? Maybe more with American Express. But quite often when we're working with a network, they'd rather extend the terms to you if they think you're going to pay quickly, because they don't have to pay the credit card fee, and it's just easier for them, again, if they trust you and they like working with you, to extend you credit and then know that you pay with a check or wire or something like that. So get that credit established, because what will happen is, if it looks like it's going to work and it's a scalable campaign and you either have some ownership in it or you think it's going to last, you want to be able to run this thing big time. And the last thing you want to happen is you don't have any credit line left in your credit card, and you have to call Visa and say, I'm trying to charge another $25,000, with this merchant. It's much easier to get the credit established early. The second thing is get your geo targets established as well. And the reason I say this is because when you start looking at media buying, they want to sell you whatever they have, and that's not always U.S. traffic. U.S. traffic is usually at an absolute premium, so you want to specify U.S. traffic unless you're actually marketing in a different country. And I wouldn't even add English-speaking countries unless the targeting permits, after the fact. Maybe I would go with U.S. and Canada. But the other thing, and I know we've talked about this on a previous call, is and I say this as an American, but we're just, we're suckers, man. We buy stuff. We'll buy anything. We are a consumer class. And so if you can target Americans, you're going to probably do really well. If it works on Americans, you can probably do really well elsewhere, but nothing is going to be more responsive than the United States audience, or possibly the Great Britain. The next thing you want to make sure that you do is you really want to set your limits. Insertion orders and the negotiation process is a lot about limiting your liability. And so you want to set what we call a daily spend limit. And the daily spend limit just says, don't drive all this traffic on one day. Drive it over a period of time and actually drip it into the campaign. You just don't want to blow your budget too quickly. I mean, you want this thing to be throttled, this campaign to come out over time, so that you get a handle on some of the other metrics. And the other one is you want to ask for even delivery, and that's because in addition to a daily spend, you want your campaigns to deliver the ads, at least initially, over an even period of time, like so many impressions per hour, even like in the midnight hours, and at 2 and 3 in the morning. And that's because what you'll find is that you will discover, and usually in many campaigns, that there are perfect times to actually be delivering these ads. And so if you have things delivered on an even basis so that it's all throttled, right, so you're getting X number of impressions or clicks per hour, you're going to be able to look at your stats and say, well, they were delivered evenly, but everybody bought, between 9 in the morning and 5 at night. Only a few, few sales in the middle of the evening. Or maybe you'll find the exact opposite. Maybe all your clicks and signups are coming in the middle of the night. It really depends on the network, the offer, and how you're targeting things. But the point is that when you ask for even delivery, it will paint a very accurate picture as to what time of day the offer is most responsive. And then what you can do is you can do something called day parting or time parting. So once you've done this even delivery for, let's say you're running your campaign for a couple weeks, maybe the first week you let it run on an even basis, and then you say, gosh, it turns out that nobody did anything on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. All the real juice of this campaign was between Monday and Thursday and between 9 in the morning and 5 at night. Then you can go back and you can say, hey, I need you to change this campaign and set up day parting on it so that you're only delivering these ads at the time of day that I know the people are most responsive. And that is huge, because that can actually, if you do it correctly, that can as much as double your response. The next thing is your out clause, and I want to make sure that people understand this. You want a 24 to 48 hour out clause, and this does not mean that you have 24 to 48 hours to cancel the campaign. What an out clause says is that at any time during the run of this campaign, you can call your rep and you can say, stop it. No, no more traffic. This isn't working, or our site's down, or the lander sucks, or nobody's opting in, or whatever. And they'll go ahead and pause it. And what this is it's a legal contractual thing that says to the network, if I tell you to stop driving traffic, let's say it's a 24-hour out clause, at Monday at noon, I don't have to pay for anything after Tuesday at noon. Now, in reality, most of the time, if you call your rep and say, pause this, or stop this, or no more of this, they're just going to pause it. So you don't even really need this, but this is really a legal protection for you, so that if nothing's working and you're running over a couple of weeks, and it's not working after, say, 5 or 6 days, and they've maybe changed the creative or you've changed the landers, you can call them on Thursday and say, hey, man, this campaign's not working. Now, you might want to just keep the credit with them and set up a different campaign, but at the very least, you're not going to be spending the money. So the 24 to 48 hour out clause is not after the campaign starts, it's after you decide that you want to stop it. And like I said, most of the time, if you call them up and you get them on the phone and you say stop it, they'll stop it. And in fact, some of them, like ValueClick and Advertising.com, I don't know about Yahoo, but they'll even give you the access so that you can go in and you can even pause it yourself. So you have even less liability, right? And then the next one is, of course, your frequency cap. And your frequency cap says how many times do you want this ad to show to the same person per day. When you go for high volume, and it's especially if it's a smaller network or a small site, you really risk banner burnout, which is people seeing the same ad over and over again. So at least at first, I like to go for a 1 in 24, or maybe a 1 in 48. But I don't like to deliver too much initially because I really want to see what the response is with different people.
Hey, Jonathan, Jonathan,
yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to mention, since you're talking about that, obviously you always want to get as much sales as you can get, but for instance, there was one website that every time I think it was one per week, so I only allowed the banner to be shown one time a week, and I was able to make it work, but whenever I went any more than that, it just didn't work. So what I did, and I advertised with him for well over a year, but I just kept these trickling sales come in, and I paid him thousands and thousands of dollars. But it wasn't anything to pay your mortgage, but that's how I made this one site work. So sometimes more isn't better. If you can make small work, just take it and then go and try to apply it in multiple places.
That's a great idea. And actually, there's another thing. Most of the self-serve networks will let you go up to maybe 1 in 48, but they're not going to let you do 1 per week. However, the person controlling the server can do that for sure. We see that a lot on Facebook when you're targeting small groups. I mean, we've all seen that Frank Kern banner probably more than we'd like to see it. But the reason he has about 5 or 6 versions of it, but the reason we see it is because there is no frequency capping allowed on Facebook, at least not currently, and so you get real banner burnout. In other words, people keep seeing it, and even if they've never clicked it, they're like, oh, I know that banner. I don't know if you guys remember the Punch the Monkey one. Remember that, Tim? Those were one day I clicked the Punch the Monkey banner, and it was for that money tree or something, or I can't remember. It was like a banner from 10 years ago.
Yeah, really, you couldn't even turn on a computer without seeing it.
Yeah, it was nuts, but the frequency cap really can help you, especially on a small network or on a website. If you're running, sometimes you'll just say to the network, hey, I want to be on this particular site and just this particular site. And knowing that, you really don't want to burn through those users. You want to get different users every time you go on. So I always shoot for a 1 in 24 there. We talked about the network Engage BDR, which is that high-end network. I think in our very first meeting we had met them at AdTech, and one of the things that they specialize is top-of-page placement. In fact, that's all they buy. Well, when you're running with someone like ValueClick, you can request it and sometimes get it. When you're running with AOL, you can request it and often get it. And when you're running with someone like Yahoo Premium, which is direct with Yahoo, just on their existing, owned properties, you can demand it. And if you put it in the I/O and then you find the banner somewhere else, like at the bottom of the page, after having it in the insertion order, you can send that screenshot to your rep and you're going to get a credit. You're either going to get a price reduction or something because, again, they violated that contract. So, the insertion orders are there, it seems like, to protect them, but it's really to protect you. You really have the ability to pause, to get out of the campaign, and to request whatever you want in the insertion order. Now, most networks aren't going to agree to it. They're smart enough to know, but if they agree to it and they say they can do it and they promise it and then you see it and it's not where it's supposed to be or it's not the right way or place or whatever according to the conditions that you set up, then that's a pretty good way to, to get some free advertising. The next thing has to do with the optimization, and a lot of these companies, they talk about their black box, in other words, their self-optimization strategies. The problem is that the black boxes usually don't work. They do require some human optimization. So what we always do is we just let the network know, here's what we're trying to get, here's the CPA we need, or the opt-in, or the cost per sale, or whatever we're looking for, and we'll send a big insertion order over, but you need to get my performance up, because I can't work with you unless I make X number of dollars. And at that point, you really get them optimizing as hard as they can. And then you always want to, throughout the process, be working on a CPA, or get them to a CPA, or get them to agree to a CPA, or get them to agree to look at it, or whatever you can, because at that point you just give them the creative and they sign up for your affiliate program, and you just send them a check every week. And that's the best way to work with a network. But it requires a little bit of work, which is why we have to go through all this stuff. So we actually had a client who was he was just such an interesting dude. And Christian, if you're on, you'll probably appreciate this.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you? I won't say his name, but he was great. What he used to do is he used to open up the negotiation by saying he was almost ready to sign $1 million insertion order, but he just wanted to do a small test first. And then once he did the test and it actually worked, then he would say, okay, I'm willing to sign an insertion order for $1 million. Now listen, when you just say the words $1 million insertion order, someone's going to pay attention to you, If you say the words $1 million insertion order to a rep, he's immediately thinking, what's my commission? What would I spend that money on? Will I take my wife on vacation? Can I get that new car? What will I do? What new toy can I buy? So it really gets them thinking about signing a $1 million insertion order with you when you bring it up. But what was cool is he said that he would sign these $1 million insertion orders all the time, and I'm like, well, God, how did you do that and not go broke? He said, oh, well, I just made sure that the conditions were the way I wanted them. I would have a $1 million spend, but it would be over 12 months, so it's only $80,000 a month. So now it's not quite as, expensive. He'd say he'll work on a CPM or a CPC basis, but, only if it actually works for him. He'd try to move them to a CPC. He'd start on a CPM if necessary, move them to a CPC, and eventually get them to a CPA, which is basically, they thought he was negotiating $1 million insertion order, but he realized that what he was doing is trying to get a good affiliate to actually promote his offer. He had a 1 in 24 frequency cap, always a 24-hour out clause. He also liked to have control over the server from his end so he could pause it and add more creative. He would only have an initial daily spend of $1,000, so if it didn't work out after a while, he could stop it or pause it. He'd start with a $5,000 deposit. So I just want you to think about that. He's talking about $1 million, but he's locking up $1 million worth of inventory for $5,000 that is refundable if it doesn't work. And then after the $5,000, he would now, set everybody up on net 15s, but the whole thing is subject to conversion numbers. So he basically set the insertion order up as an affiliate agreement, and they would go for it. And I think he told me that 9 out of 10 didn't get past the $5,000, and most of the time after he'd tweaked them, they'd call him back and it would require further negotiation. But I mean, he did well over $1 million spend with Yahoo, well over $1 million spend with AOL, well over $1 million spend with WeatherBug, which was an AOL subsidiary. I mean, he did a lot of business. So, don't be afraid. It's how you can lock up $1 million worth of inventory for $5,000. Okay, so when you're making these commitments and you're doing these offers, it's really important to own your own offer, or at least your own front end. You don't have to own the offer. It can be a CPA offer, but you have to own the lander, because otherwise you're screwing yourself. Now, Christian will probably come up with the exact opposite of that, but he'll tell you how he does it. I'm just telling you how I do it, and I get a little nervous when I'm sending the traffic straight in. I like to use a lander because I like to be able to track stuff and collect data and all that sort of stuff, find out who's visiting my site. If I see people that are, if I'm buying US only and I'm seeing people from India, well, they're great people, I'm sure, but that's not who I paid for, and I want to go back and say to the network, hey, my stats are showing 30% Indian traffic. What the heck are you guys doing? And that way I get what I need, and then they know that there's something screwy with their network. So the problem, though, with affiliate offers, and my biggest issue with them, is that even though you don't have any of those customer service stuff and any of that merchant issues or fulfillment, you have a lot of issues that happen to affiliates when you're running CPA network offers, like the offer goes down, or it gets canceled, or the payout gets reduced, or it changes and now it's a squeeze page and the conversion's lower. And when you're the one sending traffic instead of getting it, you're really in the risk proposition category. So I like to trade a little hassle, like making my own lander, for a lot of control. And what I like to do is pretty much take an affiliate offer, and we talked about some of this in our funnel discussion, and convert it into a direct offer, and then we'll take a look at some examples. So what is a direct offer? Well, it's just a landing page that it can have all or some of these things. It doesn't have to have all of them, but it really should have a theme and a topic, so it should be about something. The simple designs and graphics are okay, but make it about something, like we did with our 7500permonth.com. I like to brand my own domains. Listen, I always like to have my own domain in the banner ad. I like to own my own domain in the lander, because what I'm doing is I'm actually creating a brand on top of my brand, right? So I say get a generic non-dash .com domain name. You can, if your digital cameras are taken, which of course it is, you can use adjectives like buy digital cameras or best digital cameras or best digital cameras online, but just make sure your keywords are there in the right order so that it sounds good and someone can actually remember it. Your money links is what you're going to need to actually make your money. These are links to either your affiliate offers or offers you own and control. Opt-in form, I like that. A bribe, or do you qualify? And then here's another one. Tim and I started playing with pop-ups recently. I like those JavaScript ones. If it's okay with the network, which it is in many cases, you can encourage a pop-up to opt in. Maybe you take them to a money page, and if they leave without clicking through, you have a pop-up. It says, well, at least get the free report. So here's one that we have. It's called Amazing Paid Surveys. It's one of our site. It's basically a portal for free paid survey offers. And this site has made us, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 or $400,000, probably a little bit more. We put hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people through this process, and as they opt in, they now are sent over to the CPA offer. I could have just done a mailing and said, go to the CPA offer. Or I want to be in the paid survey business, I'm going to rotate a couple of different ones and see which one converts best. But I didn't want to do that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to send them to my lander page so that I can get remarketing cookies, and I can capture opt-ins, and I can set all my affiliate cookies, and I can actually follow up with 20 or 30 versions of an email to get them to opt into the various places that I make money from. It's much better to do it this way because I not only make more money, I build a list. Here's one that's one of our competitors. It's called Survey Club. This is some good friends of mine, even though they're competitors. They're in Denver, and they've put, I think, over 10 million people through this page. 10 million people. That's pretty awesome, man. They've made huge amounts of money and built a huge list with this. And again, they're just doing the same thing. They're just promoting those get paid to take surveys offers, the free ones that you'll find, like from Survey Savvy. There's a whole bunch of companies out there, Opinion Club, and all they do is they're market research companies, and they pay you a couple bucks for each opt-in. But I'd rather get the opt-in and then push the opt-in on my own. Here's the one that we showed a couple of weeks ago. This is for my acai berry diet. I've got a new version of this actually coming out. It's just generic weight loss. It's, do you qualify for a free trial of the best weight loss product on the internet, question mark. Here's the one, the new version of the one we talked about in the funnel. This is the, all this guy does is create a landing page for his traffic that he buys, and then he sends it into another CPA offer. You got to understand, he does not own the offer here. He's just an affiliate. And then here's another one. I think we talked about this before, Home Income Jobs. This is a portal we set up for business opportunities. These are all ways that you can take affiliate offers and you can stick them behind your lander. These are the landers I like. You don't have to use landers like this. You can use totally different kinds. This is what I like to do because I like to be able to own the domain, brand it, capture opt-ins, and set cookies. Okay, so when you're buying media, and we're just about to head over to Christian in just a second, but I want to just give him a little bit of setup here. The real key to this is focus. So when I look at people who are not successful marketers, I ask them what they do. And they say, well, I'm running a lot of offers with a lot of networks. And I said, oh, are you crossing demographic and targeting boundaries? And they're like, oh, what's that? And I say, if you're going after females 45 to 65 and you found a good source for that, do you now come up with an offer that, you market to college kids? Because if you do, you got to find a new traffic source for it. So I like to bundle up my networks, and I find that when I run them on one offer, if I'm keeping the same targeting and the same demographics, I can go back to them with the next offer and the next offer and the next offer and the next offer, and I don't have to come up with a brand new relationship with a new network that targets college students, because that's not who I want to target. I want to target 45 to 60, actually in my demographic is 40 to 65-year-old males and females who are middle class or better. That's my demographic. So once I know where the people are, it's easy to get them. Also, I asked people, what are you doing? And they said, well, I got all these affiliate networks. So they're affiliates for dozens of CPA companies, but they have no juice, no love from any one network. They're not a super affiliate anywhere. They don't get more than $1,000 from any one CPA company because they spread everything out. They try a lot of stuff, and then they track after the fact. They don't look at their campaigns as they're going. They run a campaign, and then they look at it, and then they make a decision instead of changing things on the fly. And they really tend to be ADD, which is attention deficit disorder. In other words, they move around, and they're scattered, and they like to multitask. And the truth is that multitasking doesn't really work. Now, maybe you have the kind of personality where it does, but it's much, much better for you and for everybody in everything that you do to be a little more OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, than ADD. Because people who are OCD get the job done, and they're the people who actually pay attention to what they're doing. So the people that I meet who are successful, they're experts in either a specific type of offer or a specific type of traffic. They know where they're going to get it. When they see an offer like Corey Borneman or me or Christian or Scott Revick or Mike Hill or any of the big people, if I show them an offer, already, as soon as they see it, they say, oh, I know where I'm going to get that traffic. They already know it because they already have experience. And if they don't know where they're going to get the traffic, they probably say something like, I think I'm going to pass on that offer because they don't know. They have their specialties, and that's really what they focus on. They don't have millions of relationships. They don't have hundreds and hundreds of people on their contact list. They have 10 or 12. It's about knowing the right dozen people, and they know what they want to accomplish before they start a promotion. which leads me to the next step. I always like to pre-test my creative beforehand. I would never spend $5,000 or $10,000 to say, hey, can you test these banners? I test them myself. And I do that by going to somewhere like Google or somewhere like adbright.com. And when you go to AdBright, I don't know if I think this is in the regular Traffic Evolution course, but they changed their network. When I go to buy traffic on AdBright, I go down here. There's a little thing called Site Directory. I never buy just generic ads on their network. Those have never worked for me. I go to, to the site network, and then I enter in my search keywords, and if I want to promote a health offer, I can look right here and I can say, oh, they have 3 ads for a women's health offer. I want to go ahead and test that. They got some good traffic. I can buy an ad just on that website only. And what that helps me do is test the creative and see which one actually works before I start spending the real money. 50 or 100 bucks is going to give me some pretty good data, at least in terms of click-through. And if nothing's clicking through, then I need to go back and make more creative before I start spending real money. You go in there and you can actually buy a lot of this stuff on a CPM, so you're going to get a lot of impressions. Another really great tool is, I don't know if Christian will talk about this, is the Google Ad Planner, where you can go in, you can enter like a site that you want to target, and it'll actually give you other sites that are just like that. And you guys might remember we talked about Ghosty or Ghostly, which is that little tool that tells you how to buy, where to buy the advertising for a particular site. You can actually go and you can buy some of it through Google, or you can just use the ad planner to figure out where you want to buy the ads. Okay, so let's see. Christian, I know you're being so patient. I love you, dude. We're going to get with you in just one sec. It's important to pre-test all your landers as well. I like to use email. If I can't, I might like to use CPV, but I like to get some idea of what's going to happen beforehand before I spend the real money. And then I think it's really important, we talked about this before, you're really able to negotiate both on price or volume or conditions, right? You don't have to buy on a CPM basis and bid with everybody else. You can buy on a CPC and you can say, I'll pay 65 cents a click, and if the guy's in a good mood, he'll say, okay. So you can actually buy your traffic as opposed to your impressions. And what I like to do, well, first of all, what the network wants you to do is the network wants you to buy CPM. And then once they figure out where the traffic is, then they'll go to CPC. You want to do the exact opposite. You want to start with a CPC where you're buying traffic from them on a straight visitor basis, and you see where the conversions are, and let them take that advertising risk. And then once they know where it is, then you can convert back to CPM if you want. But I like to buy on a CPC if possible. And right before Christian, one last thing. There's something that I think is important, and that is when you're buying media, you're not buying, it's not like search traffic, right? It's nothing at all, because it's not something that someone entered into a search engine and now they want to learn about dog training, or they want to learn about losing weight, or they want to learn about, buying a new car, or they want to learn about insurance. You've actually interrupted them. And so one we call keyword clickstream traffic. In other words, they entered in a keyword or a phrase and you're part of their clickstream, i.e. with Google. But what you see with a lot of the banners and a lot of the media buy stuff is this is really pattern interrupt traffic, and you're really interrupting people when they're out there. So you don't want to look at you do want to look at ROI, and you don't want to be particularly nervous when you're looking at the traffic in your Google Analytics or your stack counters, because you're going to see really high bounce rates, and you're going to see low opt-in rates, and you're going to see low conversion rates. These folks want conversion, they want engagement quickly, and if you're selling them something, they probably are going to leave. That's why you really want to look for the return on investment as opposed to the metrics that you're going to look at with something like Google. Okay, if you were at the party in San Francisco, you got to meet Christian and you got to learn a little bit about him. And Christian said the most amazing thing ever. I think we had been drinking for a few hours, and Christian stood up, and I don't know if you even remember this, man, but he said, you know, this whole media thing is just completely overblown. People make it out like there's this really highly technical thing, and pretty much in order to buy media, all you need to know how to do is pick up the phone. And really what he was saying is the technical stuff is great, but it's really all in the relationship. And if you can establish a relationship and articulate your goals to your rep and they like you, you can get a lot done. Christian's site is at pay-per-click-ninja.com. It's probably just a squeeze page. And Christian's last name is Wesolak. And Christian, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks for the introduction.
Hey man, you're like the Mac Daddy dude. Christian spends between 10 and 15,000 bucks a day on traffic, something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean it goes up and down every month, but yeah, I mean been doing it for 6 years or so, and 6 or 7 years now, and got really sick of it. So built the traffic team around a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here. So it's kind of a more automated thing. So like you said, you know, really all you need to know how to do is work the phone.
So tell us a little bit, I mean, you got tired of all this organizational stuff. I do have a few questions for you.
Yeah.
You decided to outsource this stuff, or actually you didn't outsource it, you just hired folks. Tell us about your traffic team.
Yeah, I just think that like the way that progressed was just hating being in front of the computer all the time, and I found like from, you know, I'm 35 now, so from the, you know, there's a big gap of like just computer time spent, and you know, you're making money as an affiliate and stuff, but you get this traffic anxiety, right, where it's like you're constantly spending money and holed up and in this sort of bubble of not really being able to step back. So that was where I kind of looked at things in the sense that there must be a way to kind of automate all this stuff, like the self-serve stuff, the media buys, everything, and you know, the end goal is like to do nothing. And then, you know, we find it. So what we've done is built a small team basically that just like does different things. You can ask me questions about that, so I don't keep going on.
How is your team organized? Like, do you have like a traffic guy, or do they specialize in like CPA or CPV or what?
Well, basically, the way it works is that I'm big on the whole spying thing, so I don't really start anything without seeing someone else do it first, which a lot of people disagree with, but I think it gives you a good insight as to what you should do. So it's like, I find that the most powerful thing for any campaign, or the most powerful feeling is like, man, that's just got to work. Like, so I'll keep like a whiteboard of like things that, like affiliate landing pages that are just being hit hard, and you know, we're watching the amount of clicks those landing pages are getting and stuff, and then basically just knowing like, okay, this guy's good. Like, you know, you could tell by banner rotation or just their behavior, the landing page increasing, more money being spent, booked up at more ad networks. So then, you know, so suddenly create a list of targets. So getting really good at creating that list of targets is the key behind it all. And so we have 2 people that do that, myself and another guy. And then we have 2 or 3 people below us that basically do what we call setups. So we don't want to hear from them until the data is there. So basically what we do is like, okay, you know, this game looks like it's doing good on this European site that's high in Alexa, like something like that, you know? So it's like this site has lots of European traffic, and there's like these direct response kind of affiliate ads on there. And, you know, so it's definitely, you know, it could be a gold mine or whatever. So start hovering over the URLs, finding out what networks is coming from, just like really researching the whole thing out, and then basically putting together a small plan and saying, hey, you know, sign up to this self-serve network, check it out, buy some traffic, copy these banners, you know, change it around a little bit, of course, and see what happens, and then basically get a result back of data. And then, so we have a team that does the data buying and the whole setting up everything, you know, tracking server, ad server. And then what we do is go back and look at the campaign after and say, okay, well, this is the data, this is what's going on. And we find that it takes two different types of people. Like, you can find a lot of people that can buy data, not necessarily good, but like you can find some real good people that can buy data and do the setups. And then you need someone who's got that sort of money mindset, which is the first part, finding those campaigns and making it happen, And it always starts with that first dime you drop, right? Otherwise it doesn't start. So really the key, I think, is finding all those targets and then organizing in the order of like easiest chance of making money, and then immediately not talk about it anymore or even think about it until you do it. So.
Okay, so let me walk you through, or walk me through, and let me get an idea so we understand this. So, like, I know you're big in the dating niche and in the singles niche, and you'll go to a lot of sites. When you start seeing an ad over and over again, that just kind of, you prick up your ears and you say, I wonder what that is. And so you'll save that, and you'll start looking for those ads elsewhere. And then you'll start looking at the landing page, and you'll try to kind of deconstruct what's going on with that campaign.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll say, like, okay, dating's really good on the CPA networks. Like, it's one of the biggest categories of money on the CPA networks. So obviously it works. So where's the traffic coming from? And it's usually affiliates. And then, I'll see a banner or something for dating somewhere, kind of get an idea, and then I'll use tools, like Alexa or Quantcast, just try to get an idea of like the top dating sites in the world, and then I'll look at those, and then what I'll do is I'll find like a tracking server or something of an affiliate who I think might be pretty good, and then I'll use compete.com, and with compete.com I can see all the incoming URLs going to that person's tracking server, so I can see like other sources that they're using and things like that. So then I'll go over to those other sources, and okay, there's the banner there, and then from there it's just a matter of really like dumping it in and testing it yourself, and a lot of times.
So if you see something that you like, you'll find a similar offer on a CPA network. You'll take their banners, you'll redesign them, but you'll keep them. They'll be your banners, but they'll be similar, at least in the way that they actually work. And if they're using a lander, you'll maybe not exactly copy, but you'll take some variation of that lander, and you'll just give it to your traffic team and say, here, set this up.
Yeah, and then they'll set it up, and we'll do a lot of things from that point. But yeah, the first phase is always like, just like getting curious, like using Alexa and finding the top sites, for example, and just hitting those top 100 sites, and then being like, this is a niche site about guitars in the top 100. Strange, and then look at the banners and stuff, and just really get a feel for like what's going on out there. And you're always looking for those affiliate sort of guys, the guys that are not the corporate spenders but the affiliate spenders. So like for a dating stuff, for example, I'd go and hit all the dating sites. I mean, Plenty of Fish is a saturated place to look for dating offers, but but you can find tracking servers on there of other affiliates, and then look at what they're doing, and then you could just go on this wild goose chase for hours. And as long as you have a pen and paper and you're organizing what you're seeing, you'll have like a list of money opportunities, and it's just a matter of setting it up and testing it, and then doing things to like gain exclusivity over that space, which is probably another topic.
So give me an example. Let's say you have an offer. Would you start with a CPV, a banner, a text ad, a pop-up? What would you, let's say you see a great dating offer and it looks like there's some life in it. You give it to your traffic team. What do you tell them to set up first?
Well, it's like you said earlier, and we call it like traffic assets. So basically, like, we'll find something on Traffic Vance that converts with dating. So there might be like, 40, 50 targets that really work with dating while on Traffic Vance that aren't related to dating. So it's like a traffic asset, something that we used before for another dating campaign, or something that we used for like, like a campaign where there's like 40 plus males. And it was like, usually on Traffic Vance we would start really wide, like buy a lot of traffic and narrow it down to those 40 URLs and be like, oh, this works really good on this dating offer. And then you end up in a situation where you have a lot of paused things, you know, that can be just turned on instantly. So with a new dating offer, it's just a matter of, if you wanted to scale a new dating offer, the steps would be, you know, to go to to find something that is being pushed heavily, you know, like this wealthy men thing, like a sugar daddy type site.
Yeah, I've seen that offer lately.
Right. So the goal with that wealthy men thing is to jump on it like immediately when you see it. So it's like, okay, get curious. So, you know, I'll work my contacts, right? I'll call the networks, or I'll find out who owns the offer and see how much money is in there, you know? And it's like, yeah, we're just doing a test. And a lot of times I'll look for someone who has like really deep pockets and just wants to spend their lead money on sort of weird ways, like testing or branding or whatever. And so like definitely looking for a deep offer all the time, because, you know, it's just the key to going wide.
Explain what that means, a deep offer. I think that's going to help people understand when they're looking at affiliate offers what they should be looking for.
Yeah, like right now we got an offer for some dating stuff, and it's foreign dating, like overseas, and it works really well, but it's just a challenging game because we keep constantly rotating offers and, you know, getting feedback like your leads aren't working out and just the usual BS from CPA networks. And what we do is it's like, okay, well, this clearly works, you know, what's the actual price on these leads, you know, because it's not making them money, but it might make someone else who's got a better back end money. So we'll look for like someone like True.com or someone who's willing to take a little bit of a risk and say, hey, you know, I'm going to pump in a bunch of leads from Austria, and, you know, are you all right with us doing this for like 30 days straight or something? So, you know, we'll get a commitment or something like that, or even a commitment from the CPA network, like, no, that, you know, like anything in paper, in email, where it's like, you know, the advertiser will give you 300 leads for like 30 days, it's no problem, you know, and then OCDing about it and being like, are you sure about that? Please confirm again, you know, and then they say, right? And then they're like, yeah. And you're like, all right, and then you get known as like someone who's like, you know, they don't want to screw around with you because they're like, man, he's so into getting that money and going in and out. And then you have that commitment. Like, I had a CPA company for $40,000 for BBW offer not want to pay me, but the only reason they paid me was because I had an email that I found from my AM saying, yeah, buddy, floor it, you know, and it was him saying like, yeah, let it rip, you know, let me make my commissions too, so you want to get that wide offer, and then, you know, the way to scale like a dating thing, for example, there's no specific way. Like, I wish I could say like, and I did that before, and that was the mistake for everyone else, was like, go to Plenty of Fish and log in and do this, and it's like, it's saturated now. But you want to find.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you want to find that wide offer, and then what you can, and proof of it. So like the wealthy men thing. Like if you went to that compete.com and you looked at all the incoming traffic to it, you'd see like the main sources that are delivering traffic, and you might even see like a tracking server in there or something. So you start reverse engineering, you know, and then eventually you find somewhere else and you're like, oh, these guys are running it through AdBright. And it's like, I didn't think dating would work there. And it's like, I guess it does, you know. And just keep going like that, and then, you know, pulling the trigger on like, you know, AdSonar or any self-serve platforms like that, you can do that, but generally, you know, you honestly need like some sort of exclusivity. So right now, like, we got a campaign running on Plenty of Fish, and it spends like $1,000 to $2,000 every day, and everyone says Plenty of Fish is dead. But what we've done is we've locked the advertiser into like an exclusive agreement for us to be their main affiliate and their only affiliate. So it creates this opportunity where if you have your own product, nobody can compete with you, but if you're an affiliate, everyone can compete with you. So you put that exclusivity wrapper around it, and then, you know, the dating site right now, I'm on the phone with them, and they're like, you know, we got about $6,000 a day, and we don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, let's take care of you. You know, I'll send you the leads. Don't let anyone else do this. And then what you can do in a situation like that is, once you have that relationship with the dating site and you're even breaking even for them and just helping them, you can do like a deal where, you know, then you can take it to like PPV and do all that stuff. Nobody's really going to copy you as much. Any of that takes a ton of testing. But one thing you can do that not a lot of people think of is take it to the CPA networks and do like a CPA arbitrage move where basically you're the person bringing it to the network, and you you sign an agreement and you take it, that network will take it to all the networks, and you'll get a percent of all that traffic. So nobody looks at the networks as a traffic source, but another way to look at the CPA networks as like a traffic source is that if you have like a dating offer and you just want to send leads to it, and the payout for the dating offer is like $4, and then you kind of got like, a light exclusivity with it. They don't need to know about the CPA networks at this point. And you just go to the network and say, hey, I got this page, it's a dating site, and it's kind of not really mine, but it doesn't matter to you, does it? No. And then basically your offer starts showing up on the networks. And really all it is a squeeze page that brings you to the dating site. I mean, it's all got to be really continuous, like the one you showed earlier was. But like what you can do then is you're just relying on a pixel. So you're paying out $2 a lead on this thing that's on the networks that nobody else can do, and you're getting paid $3 from the person, like the advertiser, or $4. And
right.
The slimmer you run it, the more riskier it is, but the more chance of making money it is. And the risk there is the advertiser saying they don't want to pay you for the lead.
That is a risk.
Right.
You covered a couple things. I want to actually back up with them.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to make sure that people understand. And by the way, if you guys have questions, you can just enter them right into your deal, and we'll go ahead and we'll ask Christian. Well, the first thing is you didn't use these phrases or this phrase, but I know you and I have talked about this. You want to move up the food chain. So if it's an offer on ClickBooth, you want to find out who owns that offer. Because ClickBooth might have it, but it might actually be on EWA or a different CPA network where you can get more money. And you have no problem picking up the phone and calling True directly and saying, listen, I've been a big affiliate for you through ClickBooth and EWA. I'd like to work with you direct. Can you give me either some exclusivity or my own lander or my own domain that we can promote, or something? In other words, you want to go up the food chain to not only get more control, but to get a higher payout.
Yeah, like a lot of times you'll find an offer and you just can't find a contact and stuff like that, and the reason why is because they sign like an agreement with a network to like not allow anyone to enter that thing personally, So going up the food chain, you might find an offer on EWA, and then you might find it on ClickBooth, and you might be like, well, the owner is actually a Zoogle, and then you could get on the phone with a Zoogle and say, hey, I realize you got an exclusive agreement with these guys, and we want to know what kind of testing we can do and stuff like that. And it's just like you said earlier, you play that big role of like $1 million word, and use the traffic that you have or you sent before as leverage. So like a lot of times I'll even keep stuff running just to have that leverage with the relationship with people, because it's
right.
Because your AM will tell you a lot, like you turn it on and shut it off, and then pick up the phone, and it's a different game.
It's a and because I want to talk one sec about ethics and integrity. In this business, you might think it's surprising that you would want to undercut your CPA network and go direct with the advertiser. And it's like, are they going to get mad at me? Am I going to get into trouble? Well, believe me, that's how they got the offer. No one came to them. They saw that the offer was hot. They picked up the phone, tried to get a relationship with the company directly, because someone's going to be paying $5 or $6 for this lead. It's just that by the time it gets through a Zoogle, through EWA, and then down to ClickBooth, it's only paying $1.80. So you don't have to feel bad about going up the food chain. They do it as well, and in some ways they expect you to do it, and you should expect them to do it because they will.
Yeah, I mean, it's real easy to get into like a pleasing situation too, where you're like, you just want to send leads to the network or whatever. But yeah, don't need to do that. I mean, yeah, but there's the good point of it there is that there's just so much room in a lead that nobody knows about. Like there's just so many steps, and then there's the ROI that the company makes, and all the cuts in there. So it's like 10 hops later, you're getting $3.
Yeah, we had an offer last year that was paying me $7, and I think I ended up putting it out on a network. It wasn't an actual CPA network. It was just an affiliate group, kind of like what you guys do. And I think I was paying $3 or something for it. And here I am on vacation and making $2,000 or $3,000 a day. I'm not doing anything except for looking at the stats, which is kind of where you're at. The other thing that you said, I want to go back and just cover. So initially, when you see an offer that you want to replicate, you will either start with a CPV, right? You'll start with like traffic fans, or let's say you're going to do a traditional media. Will you do a banner, display, or text, or something like that, Sonar?
Well, usually I'll do just like a copy test, so it depends on the kind of offer, but if it's dating, or even if it's weight loss or something, or biz op, I just bring it to Plenty of Fish and just like run it really low CPM to get a feel for that banner, like which one gets a higher click-through rate, and then just kind of doing that first, so like loading in a bunch of banners and just kind of getting a feel for what the interest is, and it's hard to explain that, but if you're doing dating and you got a picture of like a girl, with a bigger front, which you've never seen before for dating stuff, it's like sometimes you could lose the marketing message and the click-through rate goes high. So it's just kind of like feeling that out a little bit, and then from there what you'd do is you'd start doing, like once you sniff the click-through rate out, you'd start doing some bringing that to like PPV or something like that, where you'd actually have like a like the banner in a PPV ad kind of thing, and you could split test the copy. Okay. And it's just about finding that marketing message, really. Like it's usually the headline in the banner in relation to the offer or something, and it's just a matter of really experimenting with that hook first. So, most of the time it's just a lot of self-serve testing and just throwing it in places where you're not overly concerned about.
Would you, we gave away a couple of weeks ago our prime sources, the traffic sources that we just know, we know there's not a lot of fraud, we know there's not a lot of BS, and we know they're relatively responsive. I'm sure one of yours is Plenty of Fish, and it's probably your first one for a lot of them. And you'd also mentioned AdSonar. Have you had good luck with AdSonar?
Well, not really, just for like testing little things and stuff like that, but for us a lot of times it's just like we got traffic running for lots of things, so we're just able to like throw it in. I mean, for traffic sources, again, it's really that compete.com and looking and finding things out. Like elephanttraffic.com, I think it's called, is like a domain traffic place where you can get a lot of domain traffic on misspelled domain names. They buy misspelled domain names and stuff, and it's like I just found that out by, just like being on the phones and stuff a couple weeks ago. Like somebody brought it up. I was working the phones all afternoon, and somebody spit it out, and I was just like, we got to do that. And
we just met those guys at AdTech. How many traffic sources do you have? Do you try to limit it to 8 or 10? I mean, do you?
Well, it depends on what we're doing. Like a lot of times we get into a position where we're just doing like one big campaign, and it's just such an injection of cash that it's all we'll focus on. And then, from there we'll rotate in other sorts of things. But like one thing though that I just realized the other day is that I told you said it was kind of interesting, was like reselling traffic and stuff. So basically, like a lot of these ad agencies and stuff like that have a lot of traffic and stuff, but if you go to like the sites and you like email mom or pop at the site and say, hey, you play big again, and it's like ready to buy a bunch of this traffic here, and you say something like, it looks like AdBright buys most of the traffic here, but hey, and then you get a block of traffic directly from the site owner, and you test it that way. And what I've learned recently is like using ad servers like OpenX and just being real fast with that. So it's like you basically, do you guys talk about that, OpenX?
We didn't talk about OpenX because you weren't even using an ad server. We're most of the time we're not. I think most of the campaigns that people run in Traffic Evolution are they're going to be for a single product, and they're probably not going to need an ad server. But
Yeah.
we have actually talked about that. I think we mentioned in terms of, it might have been a couple weeks ago, using OpenX not to manage like network buys, but to manage like single placements, so that if you want your banners to run, like you'll find Women's Health Base, and you'll pick up the phone and you'll say, well, what do you guys make in a day? And they're like, well, we get $240 a day. Well, I'll give you $400 a day, or $300 a day. Just give me all your space just for a few days, and let's just see how it works, and maybe I can even give you more. So that's you're using OpenX to deliver, to rotate the banners, and then but you're using it more as from a publisher side, or sorry, you're using it from an advertiser side.
Yeah, yeah. Well, basically the way it works is you get a site owner to put your OpenX code on their site, and then you can manage all the impressions from that ad server that you own. And you can. The beauty of it is you could drop banners in real time. If they trust you and don't think you'll put weird stuff there, then you could put in banners whenever you want. So I find that really cool.
Just rotate whatever you got.
Yeah, and then there's a plugin and stuff for OpenX where you could segment traffic. So basically, if you do like a global buy, you could segment off the European traffic, and then you could push one thing with one set of banners, and you could push something else in the U.S. So a lot of times the European stuff will pay off the U.S. stuff, and you just run something else in the U.S.
Okay, let me make sure people understand what we were talking about. OpenX is a free ad server that you can use, and it was invented and typically used, like Jeff Johnson uses it. If you have a bunch of different web properties like blogs or portals or sites or whatever, and you run banner ads on them, it's a free ad server that you can use to manage which ads go on which sites. And it's also pretty robust. It can tell when someone gets to a site, if they're a European user, you could deliver one banner. If they're a US user, it could deliver another banner. It could do geolocation. It might have some other demographic information. And so instead of giving the website owner your banner, you just give them a little piece of code and you say, I want to buy all your banner ad inventory for $400 a day, and then I'll send you some money or whatever, however you negotiate it. But you'll send them some money, and then they'll put the little code on their website for however long you want. And then you can feed whatever banners you want into that. You can rotate and split test and do whatever you like. And that's how you're doing it. When you find a site you want to run with, you use OpenX to deliver the ads to them. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll put the frame on their site, and then I'll have my OpenX server, and I'll be able to switch in banners real time on that site. And then I'm also able to segment that traffic into, okay, this banner here for weight loss is European Spain, and this banner here is only for US, and it's like a dating offer or something only for the US, And then that way you get a bigger bang for your buck. And the other cool thing is, just for this call, is with OpenX, if you want to do retargeting, what you can do is you can join the OpenX marketplace. You got to fax in a few forms and do a few things. And then basically every single click on your banner gets cookied and in OpenX marketplace. And then people in the OpenX marketplace who are looking for like impressions, they can get them from retargeting on your stuff. So you could get retargeting, those cookies that get set from them clicking on the OpenX banner. Then somebody who's serving retargeting impressions. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, actually, they don't even have to be serving retargeting impressions. Someone who's a member of the OpenX network that just has, the general OpenX. What OpenX does is I think we talked about this before, they set up a network for people to buy advertising from, because if you've got a bunch of sites, you're probably interested in buying advertising. So you can buy remarketing through the OpenX network on people's sites, set the cookies from when they actually click on your banner. So someone clicks on one of your weight loss banners, you can now target that person in the weight law with a different banner or a different offer in the OpenX network, and you're going to pay probably half that you would on a different type of network because the OpenX network is a smaller network and most of the impressions come far cheaper than, say, Yahoo or something like that.
Yeah, like there's basically all these OpenX ad servers that guys are running all over the world and stuff like that, and a lot of them are selling their traffic. So basically when they run out of, like, when they have leftover impressions, you can also sneak in there, you know, with your ads. So like with OpenX, you could say, like, I got this weight loss campaign, and it's open on OpenX Marketplace for 10 CPM, and then you just get some of those leftover impressions, and you can monetize those.
Oh yeah, 10 cents CPM. I remember that stuff. Wow.
That's where you see a lot of, like, you'll see like a lot of direct response-y type stuff on a site, like banners, and then you'll see like some corporate boring stuff for a while, and it's usually like guys just in, you know, it could be that OpenX, right? Just like,
yeah, in other words, they wanted to take some inventory because it was paying good, but then they were only allowed 10,000 impressions, and now they still have users coming to their site, and there's some kind of remnant inventory there. I want to talk a little bit about tracking because you and I had talked, it was just a few months ago when you were here for Perry Marshall's seminar. I said, how do you track? And you said, you're still using a spreadsheet. Now, when you're running banners on other people's sites, of course you use an ad server. But, you know, people were saying, I know you and I have talked extensively about Prosper and some of these things. And up until a few months ago, you were using primarily manual tracking on spreadsheets. Are you still using that? And do you have any tips on managing multiple campaigns for people?
Well, there's a couple things out there. There's this thing that it's actually Eric David showed me. It was linkshifter.com, LINKSHFTR.com. So shifter, not the full word, but linkshifter, SHFTR.com. And that's a pretty good site that allows you to fire a pixel and stuff like that on a conversion. So you can rotate traffic through them and everything, and it's like you can send a lot of traffic through there, and it just sort of shifts the links around, and you can pass a parameter too. So it's worth checking out.
Yeah, so this is actually is it a paid service? Oh,
it's free, but
this is kind of interesting.
It's free, but you can but you can buy a paid membership too.
Oh, okay. So this will actually do pixel tracking like HyperTracker will.
Yeah, and you could pass in like a keyword to it, so you could have like a Prosper 202 URL in there, but a link shifter URL in your banner, and then you could pass the keyword you want into that Prosper URL. So you always got like your token on the banner coming in. So like it might be like linkshifter.com token equals blue banner. And then your outbound URL would be like prosper202.com, and then where the keyword goes, you put like blue banner. So if you needed to like switch off Prosper or something, you got your back covered through Linkshifter.
Okay,
but yeah,
I got to ask you a question because what you said sounded a little complicated, but what you're saying is that when you do a tracking link, you usually have a secondary tracking link that it's actually going to in the outbound. So do you use Prosper 202?
Well, I use Prosper 202, yeah.
You do. Do you use it for everything?
No, I use the OpenX with this thing for a lot of stuff. So it's like if you have one site, like say shoppingnetwork.com, and you have banners on there or something, well, you would just basically tag all those banners, like, you know, shop 1, shop 2, shop 3, shop 4, and then I'll just like monitor the conversions on that shop 1, shop 2, shop 3, shop 4. Sometimes send it through Prosper, but usually just try to do it more manually because the speed is a lot faster. You know, you just fire it directly to the network or something once you're confident.
So a lot of your tracking is actually, and this is a question, a lot of your tracking is done through sub-IDs and tokens and things of that nature. Let's say you have something that's really working and it looks like you want to go full force. Is that something that you'll then set up in Prosper?
Not really, no, because it usually blows up after like around 1 million to 3 million clicks. It starts kind of chugging, and then you'll start seeing weird things. about it. By the way, a side note, just with the Prosper stuff, is that with the whole spying thing, like if you get good at finding other people's tracking servers, which is gold, then what you can do is you can find their link, their Prosper 202 link. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you find someone's tracking server and their actual Prosper link, you could use pingdom.com, by the way. Pingdom.com will show you like the whole path of someone's link. So if you type in a tracking link there, you could see like the whole trickle through, like right through to the networks.
Damn.
So it's like a
Wow.
it's like a tracing tool. And what you can do is you can hit that person's Prosper link again, like through your browser, and you can see the sub ID increment. So you'll be like, it's at 100, and then you'll hit it again, and it's like, it's at 300, and then you hit it again, and it's like, it's at 900, and you're like, whoa, this guy's serious. You know, as opposed to like another guy's Prosper thing, it's like 1, and then it's like sub ID 5, and then you check it tomorrow, and it's like 50. It's like,
So let me make sure. So what someone's doing is they're using like 100 sub IDs. They don't have 100 clicks coming through. They have 100 sub IDs or 500 sub IDs. In other words, they're testing a lot of different landers, a lot of different banners, a lot of different variations. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, like Prosper 202 spits out a sub ID for every click. So it starts at 1, and then it goes all the way up to whatever. So if you find someone's server and the sub ID is like 100,000, you know they've delivered 100,000 clicks. And then if you hit that URL like in a day, you'll be like, whoa, it's at 300,000. This guy's serious. And then that's where
you can tell how much traffic they're getting.
yeah, it's like a Prosper hack.
Wow.
So then once you have a list of like Prosper servers that are getting a lot of traffic, you can go to compete.com and find out where that traffic's coming from. And it'll show you like all the incoming links to that URL. And compete.com gets their data from like ISPs, so it's really legit.
Wow. So Compete is really the tool. I mean, you'll start with free stuff, and you get pretty good data looking at Quantcast and Alexa, but when you really want to get deep, you will look at Compete.com.
Yeah, always compete.com, because like anything, like even if you find a CPA network URL, like, you know, Neverblue uses like AdMills or something, you know, there's different URLs. You know, when you go to a network and you get a URL for an offer, well, all the URLs are the same domain. They're just sometimes they're different, you know. So what
Right,
you do
they're
is
just tracking URLs that they
Yep.
use. They're usually makey-uppy domains. I mean, they're real domains, but they don't mean anything. It's just a number combination.
yeah, and then you fire that URL into compete.com, and you find out that that CPA URL is where it's getting traffic from. So you could even say like, okay, the whole dating section on Neverblue is getting most of their traffic right now from Facebook, but they also get a bunch from like, you know, what's that site called? I can't remember the name right now. Reunion.com or something. And then you log into Reunion, and you're like, you know, and you see what people are doing in there. So just that kind of thinking.
And that helps you find demographic targets that you can either, A, target with networks, and I want to talk to you about Google in one sec. You can either target with networks or you can go direct. And then, do you use Google at all in your advertising?
No, never. I have not used Google for quite a while.
Do you have I won't even ask you if you have an account there anymore. So you don't use them. Do you ever use any of their tools like Google Ad Planner?
A little bit of the Google Ad Planner, but a lot of just more like raw stuff, like just surfing around the net on the big sites and finding those like markets where there's affiliates fighting for stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So
when they're fighting, that's what you know, that there's juice and there's life in either, if not that offer, at least in that vertical.
yeah, and when they're fighting, you got so much leverage because then you can talk about them to your affiliate manager and stuff. So I'm just trying to relay it's a really aggressive game out there, and like, you know, there's so many niches going on right now where there's people like arguing over, you know, he stole my banner, they stole my banner, and it's like, it's just you know, and if you're sending traffic and then you're like, you know, 11023, you know, he's able to steal my banners, you know, so we're stopping the traffic. And then, you know, you get in communication with that other affiliate through your AM, and it's like, hey, man, you know, the other affiliate's kind of tipped it. Just like those markets where there's all those affiliates fighting and stuff, yeah, it's usually really, really good. And that's where you can find like an exclusive agreement to just beat everyone out.
Well, I remember Jeff Johnson saying that a few years ago. I pulled him aside and I'm like, God, you know, you're such a great affiliate on all these things like, you know, LCD TVs and, you know, high-end home theater systems and things like that. And I'm like, you know, why do you choose those? And he says, I choose them because there's a ton of competition. And I'm like, that's so counterintuitive. Why would you go for something where there's a lot of competition as opposed to something that you can dominate? And he just said, I'd rather have a small piece of a much bigger pie because I know that I can turn that, I know that I only have one place to go, and that's up. He said in limited situations where he's like a limited affiliate, or he's, you know, one of 10 instead of one of 10,000, you know, there's just not that much traffic for it. Some things can only be sold through search. I mean, you know, people need, you can't pattern interrupt people in every single vertical. You really need, you know, to be able to take it out and use banners and things like that. So you really you're not afraid of the high competition stuff. Now I want to shift a little bit. By the way, any more questions, you can go ahead and just ask questions. You can just type them into the thing and we'll go ahead and we'll answer them. But the one thing I wanted to talk to you about is your own offers versus other offers. Now you are an affiliate and you are like the Mac Daddy affiliate. You don't have any of your own offers, do you?
No. None.
So when you heard what I said earlier about creating your own landers that are basically squeeze pages or portals with a domain, is that something that you do, or do you direct link? I mean, I know it depends on the offer. Can you give us a little feedback on when you do what and why?
Yeah, a lot of times, like, I'll never buy something that I can't pause if I don't have like Link Shifter or some sort of like even Prosper, just something where I can control that traffic. So I'll never send it directly to an offer where it's like I can't change the banner. I always have the control through Link Shifter or Prosper, whatever rotation service, to change things.
But do you direct link to the offer?
Yeah.
Or do you go to how often do you direct link versus going to a landing page?
I'd say I'm pretty much a direct linker a lot of the times, you know.
Really?
I mean, like a lot of those markets, like it's just that trend of like where there's people fighting and there's all sorts of competition going on. It's like it's a bad market to direct link in, like, you know, dating on all the ad sonar properties or something. You know, it's like you need like that competitive advantage by having a landing page or something. But then even that, you know, a lot of times they'll get ripped off, and then you're like, oh man, you know. So then it's like, you know. So I do a lot of direct linking, but the point I'm getting at though is it's like a lot of the guys go in and out real fast. So it's like that Robert Allen offer hit the scene like, I don't know, 3 to 5 months ago, and it's like, you know, on lots of the sites that Engage BDR or like Ad Sonar and stuff owns, it's like guys will just hit it hard because it's a new offer, direct linking just with some banners, you know, and then suddenly that'll transform into like flog dudes, and then it'll transform into like more flog dudes, and then it'll be like direct linking dead. So like going in and out real quick and just like being in a market where there's like one guy and you're just the second guy in there, you know, for the good time, and then pull out is key, because there's just so much stuff that everyone tries and everyone else is trying. So that's why I'm reinforcing that instead of like looking for that golden traffic source or that golden place to go and play, I mean, that's really what people need to be finding, is like, I found this one thing I don't want to talk about, and it's because I was surfing around the internet late at night and got real curious about this one thing. It's everywhere, and I've realized it was on Neverblue. I'm pretty sure it would work. Man, I got to try it. Can't sleep, gonna try it, you know? And then it's like, holy man, you know, it made $300, or it's like, it lost only 100. And
So when you're going out there, by the time you'll direct link, and by the time you need to create a landing page to keep the traffic going, that's when you'll probably pull out.
I'm in a market right now. Direct linked did nearly $1 million in sales in about 4 months. Pulled out, and now there's that market. Can't talk about it, but that market's just saturated with guys doing what I was doing, copying it, twisting it around, and it's just like, been there, done that, where it's like you could play around for 8 months in a market that's been saturated, and you're like splitting a big piece of something with like so many people, it just becomes impossible, like on Plenty of Fish, even, for example, like it's just about breaking things in that kind of work. Like that Wealthy Men offer, I surveyed the traffic, and I was like, what do you want? Like 5-to-1 girls to guys, older guys, or younger girls looking for older guys. And I just took like copy that I found on all the common banners around and just added my own. And I was like, man, everyone wants younger girls looking for older guys. So I'm like, well, this Wealthy Men thing will work perfect. So we created a whole bunch of banners that said younger seeking older. And that angle converted like 3 times better on a banner click than just like, dating or like check it out or like something not tested, where people then. So like that angle worked good. Now everyone's doing it, like younger versus older or the 5-to-1 ratio thing. Like it's everywhere. But if you're the first guy to go in with something like that and just hammer it, you can get away with a couple weeks of like some hard hitting stuff, or even longer.
So most people, we recommend people that they create their own offers or their own front-end offers, which is usually at the point where you are exiting because you don't want to fight over crumbs. But let's say someone has an offer, and most people aren't going to be able to start a dating site, although some might, but most aren't. Most are going to try to sell their own weight loss supplement, their own diet book, their own lead gen system. They've got some sort of something that's theirs, right, that they either have some degree of exclusivity or maybe they own it. At that point, a lot of the guys who are, especially, and I know people on this call, are, they actually want the affiliates to be fighting over this. So
right.
I guess I just want to stress even more so how important it is to own your own offer. When you're the guy that owns the offer, you don't have to worry about the million affiliates that have flogs. They're helping you. They're good. Yeah. I mean, they're not good. They might be screwing up your SEO, but you're probably not worried about SEO anyway. So it's really kind of the diametric opposite. By the time Christian gets out of a market and the other folks get in, that's when the market starts to mature, and that's even more important to own the offer at that point.
Yeah, and the other beauty of owning the offer at that point is that you have like so much access to traffic sources. So, I've even thought of creating an offer just to get affiliates promoting it so I can find out what traffic sources they're using to promote it. So
I love you. Here's why. Because you probably heard what I said earlier. When you see an offer, you immediately know how and where you're going to test it, don't you?
Yeah, I kind of know what to do with it, and just how to go about it. Like, I haven't done much with Engage BDR, but I just know that if I phone them and ask them about like other guys doing dating, and they'll tell me something, and then I'll be like, do you think it's worth doing a test? And then I'll do some Googling about them, and then I'll set up a test and be able to get out in 24 hours and just like see what works, and then it's like that one test that spends $2,000 might have a whole bunch of offers in there, like some dating stuff, some seduction stuff, whatever.
Will you rotate landers on that particular
Yeah, and I'll just find out what sites. I'm just looking for sites that have like lots of pixel fires on whatever offer it is. And then I'm like, whoa, those 3 or 4 sites look good. Okay, out. and then look at that data and then go to those sites individually and try to wheel and deal them like, hey, you know, what do you think of selling me some traffic here? And then suddenly it's like that one experiment, which I might never go back to, might be like, oh yeah, those 3 sites on Engage BDR did really good for this thing. And then all of a sudden you find something else, and then you immediately know where to go back to because you have that like traffic landscape that you set up. So like doing all these little tests and stuff is often quite useful, you know?
No, I totally know, because when we talk, you talk at such a high level, even I have to kind of stop you and be like, dude, what did you mean by that? But what you do is you've created enough campaigns and you have enough offers, and I want to get into generic in 1 second, that you know what's actually going to happen when you, you know, or you pretty much know when something's going to occur. I want to talk to you about generic campaigns because I think we've talked about it on this on these calls before. But a generic campaign, let me define it so you know what I'm talking about. You guys might have some different word for it. Like we have generic BizOp campaigns. So we've gone into Traffic Vance and we've picked up all the best BizOp targets. We already know what they are. We've gone to AF Portal. We've done all the runs. We already know who they are. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I have all of them set up. And when I want to test something new, a new BizOp, I just take that campaign, get the new landing page approved, and flick it back on. I already know how much traffic I'm going to get. Do you do that same thing as well?
Yeah, like right now I've got, like you could say even with Plenty of Fish, like I've got something like 400 campaigns, no joke, set up in there. So it's like I could test anything. So if there's a new offer out, I could test like, you know, just tall men, and then just be like, okay, here's my tall men ad coming at you, you know, and then it's like, you know, and then you'll get like this one dating site. It's like, yeah, we contacted you back just because it seemed like your conversions were better than everyone else, and it's just what you said. It's like because I've spent so much time when the source was fresh, building like 400 campaigns, that it's just so easy to turn them on now. Nobody else has that. Like, it's just like, I would hate to have to create all those campaigns and write all those ads, you know? So.
Right. Well, once you do them once, if you stay within the same verticals, you know that they're already written. You don't have to go back. If it worked once, I mean, listen, you got to make sure it's good once. You got to pick your targets and write your ads one time really, really well. But once that's done, now you can go back and you can just do some testing. Okay. Yeah. I'm so appreciative of you staying on. We are going to wrap up in a few minutes, but I want to talk a little bit about choosing affiliate offers. I got this little presentation. Do you mind if I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk a little bit about choosing affiliate offers. So one of the problems that we've had, and one of the reasons that we don't run a lot of affiliate offers, at least we don't direct link, is because things change so quickly in the offers. So have you noticed, I mean, I guess I'll say what I've noticed and you tell me what you think. And the most important one is this last one here. A lot of offers, when they come out, they're very responsive, but the conversions drop off, and sometimes they they expire. Sometimes they change the price or they change the flow. Sometimes they change what they're going to pay. Sometimes you're bidding and nobody else is bidding for those terms, and you basically, you know, now not only if you catch it on the first couple of weeks, it's a good offer, but after that, now you've got 100 affiliates bidding the price up for the traffic, and you now have all the scrub numbers. And a scrub is basically a CPA network saying, well, we're not going to pay you for a lead that we already have in our network. So we're going to, you can give us as many of those leads as you want. We're only going to pay you for the new ones. When you're in a new offer, it doesn't matter what the scrub is. There is nothing to compare it against. Everything's new. But the biggest problem is that I mean, people ask me about fraud all the time. So, I mean, first of all, do you get concerned about fraud in affiliate networks, or do you feel comfortable in the networks that you use?
I don't really get concerned about the fraud stuff because like all my traffic's paid, so it's usually coming from somewhere legit. So they don't, worry about the fraud for me. I've never had a case where someone's like,
No,
clicked my
no,
ad.
not fraud for you. Fraud for you not getting credit for all the conversions.
Oh,
I'm talking
yeah,
about someone. Let me reiterate. We heard a story about somebody who worked for an IT department for a CPA network, and they turned their brother into an affiliate, and they wrote a script where every 10th order was credited to their brother.
right, right,
And then
right.
they split the money with their brother, and that happens.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
it does.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but they were caught, and actually, I won't. The network isn't even around anymore. They were caught,
Right.
and it was, it was, it all came out. Is that something that you worry about, or do you think that most of the guys are pretty clean? Where in
I
any
don't
way?
trust that anyone's real clean in this business. It's like the only thing you can do is like rotate it to all the different networks, the same offer, and see which one converts the highest because of the scrub algorithms, and then go with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that would be the way around that. But like even with one company we're working with right now, it's cost per sale. Like it's just Pixel doesn't fire sometimes. Sometimes it fires, and it's just part of the game. Not always getting an exact thing. So I just try to always stay at a certain ROI.
Right. Well, and what we found is we create strong relationships with the reps. We always have alternative offers ready. So, like if we're promoting a weight loss thing, we have a couple of weight loss. If the conversion numbers start to have a problem, or if an offer gets pulled, we don't even call the network that we're running on. We just let those ads run, and we switch off the links with our hypertracker or whatever. And then
Yeah.
also we use our own pixel placement with hypertracker, with Prosper. You do as well. Do you ever compare network numbers with your internal numbers?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
If the
I just wanted to make sure.
yeah.
And what is your allowable level of tolerance?
Like I don't know, like on 100 leads, like up to 5 or 6, 7, 8 being off or something like that. If it's like 17 off on 100, something's weird. But if it's like usually in the 10% range, it seems kind of normal. But I really take an aggressive stance with these networks, letting them know like that I want to be paid for anything I send, and like, I want the phone to ring if a campaign goes bad. And it's like even today we have two campaigns, and advertiser didn't like the leads, and it's like you get an email with a bunch of stuff, and at the bottom it's like, oh, by the way, you're blacklisted on these 2 offers now, and it's easy to lose money in that business because of leads. So like doing media buys to CPA stuff can be dangerous, especially if it's like dating leads.
Do you ever ask, we've done this, I don't know if you've done it, you and I have never talked about it, do you ever ask to set cookies on your own landers, or to set them, with traffic? I mean, we've actually said to people, we are going to buy media, and we are going to stuff cookies on our own lander. It's our traffic, and we want your permission to do that. If you don't give us permission, we won't do it. But we actually want to set cookies on our own landers. You don't use your own landers very often, so that's probably not a big deal. But have you ever run across that or asked for
I've
that?
I've never done that actually. No, I haven't.
We don't use the term cookie stuffing.
Right,
That scares them sometimes.
right.
Okay, so that's pretty cool, man. I so appreciate it. I just want
No problem.
2 more slides. We're going to talk about best affiliate networks. You work with a lot of networks. I'm going to mention a few right here. I don't have more than really 4 that I work with, and I really only work with 1. And that I work with 2. I work with ClickBooth and EWA. Those are the 2 that I get, and I can get most any offer I want from those 2 networks, because they cover most of my demographics. But do you ever use OfferVault to find offers?
Yeah, I peek around at OfferVault a little bit to find stuff, but again, most of the offers I find are from like people running them by spying and being in those.
Oh, so you kind of got your own version of OfferVault, or
Yeah.
Compete.
Well, like everything I've done is like always from like seeing someone else doing it and then getting curious, and like even some of the bigger campaigns right now, I mean, I figured it all out just by like getting on the phone with affiliate managers and just like really getting questions, asking questions like, what about this? And like sometimes they'll leak out something because they're just the best source of data in the world, because they've signed an agreement not to talk about the data that they see, but they know all this sort of stuff. So they know kind of to say, like, Facebook's doing pretty good. And if you get on a good, like, hint system with your
Just went back
AM.
to 20-year-old kid, believe it or not. Okay, I can hear you now. You back?
Yeah, yeah.
We lost you for a minute there. So you like EWA? You think they're good?
Yeah, I think they're good. Yeah, great network.
Yeah, a lot of good pricing. Very, very flexible, super supportive of their affiliates. They actually have better affiliate training than paid affiliate marketing courses do. I mean, they do
Yeah,
really.
definitely. And another nice thing about them is they're pretty aggressive, so they'll fight to get paid. So you usually get paid, and
They
I
pay
think
weekly too.
yeah, and I mean, don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure they run lower margins than a lot of the networks too. So therefore, they can keep things going. There's a lot of less BS with them. So.
I've even had cases where my rep over there has said, if you want to run this on a PPV, let me know and I'll send you targets, and I'll also send you negative targets not to use. I mean, they really will help you make things work.
Yeah, and I mean, just like having them on AIM and just like talking to people there and finding out what works, and letting them know that you got a bit of success rate and stuff. It's key to finding stuff out. Like, it's just like I could sign on to instant messengers and go into email and just be like, what's working nowadays? And just because I've sent traffic before, get a lot of stuff back. Like on PPV, this works, that works, that works. But and again, you don't want to make that mistake of jumping into that because they're basically saying this market's super competitive right now and there's tons of people doing it. This one is too, and this one is too. So you want to take it with a grain of salt, sort of.
Right, they have their own agenda. When they say a market is competitive, they pretty much mean on their network.
Right.
It may or may not be in the big world. We like ClickBooth a lot. They're probably one of the biggest, and they have one of the biggest selections of offers. Their communication's not quite as good as EWA, just because they're so big. Max Bounty has been one that we've tried. They're up in Canada, and one thing that was interesting is we've taken some of the same offers, and you had mentioned this earlier. We've split tested the same offer, but you find it on different networks. And when we've done that, consistently Max Bounty, they either have a different scrub or a different system. We've gotten as much as 20, 30% higher conversion off of the same offer. Again, the landing pages are practically the same using Max Bounty. Neverblue is another one. Very established. We like established companies in this space, just because they don't, they tend not to have much internal fraud, because when everybody talks about them and people would find out. And they also they have good offers, and they care about their people. And then there's ClickBank, of course. You either love them or hate them. But I like to use them to wrap an offer around. Okay, one last question has to do with payment. Let me make sure there's no other questions. Okay, has to do with payment. For you, you're not running your own offers, so you're not collecting any of your own money or anything along those lines. I imagine cash flow is a huge deal for you.
Yeah.
How just let's talk for 1 minute. We have 1 minute left.
Sure.
Let's talk about cash flow. How do you manage it, and how do you get paid faster and not have to pay until later?
Basically, like just confidence, right? Like for me anyway, it's like, you have a track record, so it's like I want to be paid for this immediately, and it's like,
And
well,
how fast is immediately?
like in a week or something, or like even like like if the wire goes on a Monday and it's something new, I'll test it Friday, Saturday, Sunday hard. But generally, the way I look at it is making sure that they know you need to be paid no matter what, and that you're kind of not the best person to deal with if you don't get paid. You know, and I guess you got to have a little bit of a proof though that you could do something there. But with cash flow, I mean, when I started, it was really just like ramping up credit cards all the time, and then it eventually turns into, you know, just having enough internal funds to fund it. But one interesting thing, last thing, is we were talking this morning about like campaigns and how to approach it, and it's like, you know, like a transport truck going down a highway. Like, you know, we like to keep that truck going like extremely fast all the time, and which means spending money and not really losing money. And I was talking to the affiliate guy at eHarmony yesterday, and he kind of said the same thing. He's like, you know, the reason that company got so successful was because they would just floor the traffic all the time at break even, you know what I mean? And they would just constantly try to monetize, but they would always have that traffic running even if it was at break even. So the situation I try to be in all the time is to have a lot of things flowing and then fixing them as they're flowing, you know, going in there and tweaking the conversion or whatever. I mean, not running like a ton of money at break even, but, you know, it's an approach.
Right. Well, and there's one last thing, which is, what is your, we can't ask you what campaigns individually do, but when you look for a good ROI on a campaign, do you look to get a double? Do you look to get a 50% margin or 20% margin or triple? What do you look for when you look for
it depends on a lot of things. Like right now we have like, you know, a couple $100,000 invested in something for this month, and you know, it's like it's on sites where there's not a lot of rotation of stuff. So it's a confident landscape with the agreements where there's not going to be other competition coming in. They can't sell the media to anyone else doing anything related until I say I don't want to renew it. And, you know, that gives me confidence to run stuff at like even break even. So like, you know, go in at 40K because it broke even just to renew it and hopefully find a new offer. But yeah, like, I mean, it's really hard. I mean, it depends on what you want to do. I mean, I'll run stuff at 10% ROI a lot. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, if we don't have any work on it, we'll run stuff at usually 25 is our minimum,
yeah.
25 or 30. And then if we actually have to work it, it's usually a double is what we look for.
Yeah.
Wow, well, I just, okay, so Pay-Per-Click Ninja is your website. Christian sold a course that was amazing about Plenty of Fish marketing. I don't think you even sell it anymore, or what you've got. This is probably nothing more than a squeeze page. You know,
yeah, it's just you
can't even find him, man. He's like hard to reach. I wasn't even sure you were going to be on, man.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
You said you were, and I actually knew you were going to.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you so much. I mean, that just great information, really great insight. You're going to be down at the seminar in San Diego, and I know we'll see you there in a couple of weeks. And I think that's it for this week. We'll go ahead and get this posted up on the discussion forum. And Christian, I'll be in touch with you. Guys, still a bunch of people on the phone. Thank you all for sticking around. Really, really great call. Really appreciate it, Christian.
Thanks for having me on the call, too, by the way.
Oh, man, we're just, you know, I will say this. Christian was actually one of our first advanced course members last year. And I realized, I'm like, man, this guy like could be teaching this course. And now this year, well, at least one session, you are. So awesome. Thank you so much.
Man. Yeah.
Guys, we'll talk to you later. We'll see you on the discussion board, and we'll shoot you an email. Aloha, and thanks a lot.